All right, folks, hello and welcome back to online English class. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to be working on OTN 8, which is our second to last OTN prior to taking our unit test. We're going to be finishing up OTN 8 on Monday, beginning OTN 9 on Tuesday, finishing it on Wednesday. I'll assign you your test prompt at the end of class on Wednesday. You'll take your test on Thursday and then submit it on Friday. Okay, and then we'll spend the last week of school, the week of May 18th to May 22nd, working on and thinking about your quarter 4 essay. Okay, so before we get into our OTN, let's just quickly run back through our top of the week announcements. First and foremost, make sure that you are faithfully completing your discussion grade procedure on a daily basis. Second, make sure that you are finishing your reading of part 3 this week so that you can send me your reading check confirmation of that on Monday. Okay, also continue your work on your OTNs. Make sure that you are completing those faithfully and in a timely manner. And then finally, make sure that you are continuing your work on your quarter 4 essay, which is due, as I've already said, anytime from May 18th to May 22nd. Some of you guys are emailing me, asking me that question. I've been announcing that, and that has been printed right here on RenWeb and also in these video lectures for the past few weeks. Okay, so just make sure that you're listening carefully, okay, before you ask questions that have already been answered. Okay, so let's go ahead and return to OTN 8, all right, and begin our work on this area of text. Okay, so as usual, we're going to start with an SQ3R, and the purpose of this analysis is to analyze how Orwell continues to illustrate the significance of Winston's rebellion and to illustrate the nature of the dystopian environment in which Winston lives. Okay, so during this portion of the text, okay, as we saw back in chapters 1 through 3, the party is attempting to destroy and also recreate Winston's spirit in their own image. Okay, so how do they do that in this next area of text? Well, let's give ourselves an overview of this section of text before we get into a more specific analysis of its meaning. Okay. So let's start with an SQ3R. As usual, we want to start with looking at who the speaker is. Well, the speaker is a third-person omniscient narrator, okay, who has obviously watched Winston throughout the course of his rebellion and is documenting it, okay? Whether as a friend or as a member of the thought police, the recording consciousness continues to sort of defy clear definition. All right, the genre is dystopian fiction, okay? So after let's just sort of summarize what's happened up to this point in Winston's experiences. Okay, let's meditate on the nature of Winston's attempt to rebel against, and also his failure to successfully achieve the freedom that he was longing for. Okay, so he begins in parts 1 and 2 very simply by discovering his spirit, right? Discovering what a person is and what a person should be in light of his essence, how a person should live. Okay, the summary of that: a person should be free and should be treated as equal recipients of the human spirit with other human individuals. They should, in Christian language, should be treated as image bearers of God. Okay, Winston doesn't know God; he doesn't understand that kind of language. But by a careful analysis of his own heart and by the pursuit of a kind of reasonable life, Winston is able to understand what it means to have a human spirit and how that relates to the nature of humanity as a whole. So the party allows Winston to come to an understanding of the human spirit, what he is and what it means to be human, in order to maximize his suffering, okay, in order to make sure that the amount of suffering that they are allowed to incur on him is as high as possible. So they've tempted him into this rebellion in order to maximize the suffering that is incurred whenever they take away his humanity, when they destroy his spirit, when they, as they pursue power over the human spirit by constantly destroying it, by allowing people to discover it, as they inexorably will do. It is in their essence, it is in their nature, allowing their citizens to discover that essence and then to destroy it. Okay, why? For the purpose of power, for the pleasure of conquest. Okay. So, how have they done this in part 3 up to this point? Well, first of all, okay, they framed the process of Winston's destruction as the process of redemption, okay? This process of renewing and perfecting Winston's mind and heart, okay? The way that they go about renewing and perfecting Winston's mind and heart is they start with his mind. They start with his rationality. They attack his rationality, which when fully analyzed, all right, when fully analyzed, it becomes clear that because a person is rational and capable of understanding the true, the good, the beautiful, the just, that it should lead to the construction of a free and an equal society. I won't explain how, okay, because I've already done that. They destroy his rationality. The party destroys Winston's rationality and also the implications of his rationality by bringing him to the conclusion, all right, and they do this by using a combination of arguments and also torture. Okay, so these sort of rational prompts they bring him to this conclusion that he's not actually a rational creature. Okay, that the party rather is the only entity that can be trusted to understand and apprehend reality. They control reality and they perceive reality alone. Okay, so therefore, a person, if they are going to be sane, simply needs to obey, to find themselves in alignment with the party at any one time. If they do not do so, okay, they are not trusting, according to the party, reason. They are not being rational. They are being insane. So if the party says 2 plus 2 equals 4, then it does. But if the party says 2 plus 2 equals 5, then it does. All right? Whenever one says, well, 2 plus 2 used to equal 4 and now it equals 5, right? That's irrational. What is the person doing? They are affirming their own rationality by using their own observations, their own senses, in order to develop notions about the world. That is precisely what the party cannot allow Winston to believe anymore. They destroy Winston's understanding of his own rationality, okay? And in doing so, undermine one of the foundations of Winston's freedom and one of the foundations of human equality and human value, human individuality, okay? So they continue their assault on Winston's rationality by explaining the insane telos of the party. O'Brien does this. And that insane telos, listen carefully, is the pursuit of power for its own sake. Okay? This is summarized by O'Brien's statement that God is power. Okay? God is power. So in saying this, what happens is all of the actions of the party are rationalized and justified because, okay, listen, all of the terrible things that they do are only terrible insofar, all right, as human well-being and human flourishing are the ultimate ends of government. Okay? If that is not the ultimate end of government, but rather, right, the ultimate end of government is to achieve power over humanity over and over again, conquering them, humiliating them, a boot stamping on the face of humanity over and over again, if that is indeed God, if that is indeed the ultimate, then all of their actions are aligned with their ultimate purpose, and those actions they cease to be understood as bad, and they begin to be understood as good. They cease to be understood as wicked, and they begin to be understood as righteous. Okay, so this statement of the telos of the party justifies all the party's actions, and it lends a kind of rational coherency to their government and O'Brien's actions and their allowance of Winston's rebellion against them so that they can destroy his soul. Why? Because that increases their power. Why? Because how do you make sure you have how do you exert control over another person? You make him suffer. Okay, why? Because that individual would never choose that suffering for themselves. It is the greatest and purest way that power is expressed. That's why psychopathic killers who are compulsively attracted to power and obsessed with power don't go around, giving away free candy in order to exert their power and dominion over people. Ha ha, I made you eat the candy, right? They go around murdering people, right? Because they take their life in their hands, right? They make them suffer. They incur fear. Right, and they enjoy that process. That these poor mentally ill individuals, all right, that have been so separated from a rational, normal way of thinking, whether by their environment or by their own choices, and some combination of those two, right? They become obsessed with power. And they exert that power by making people suffer. Okay, the party is the same way, but okay, instead of that suffering being viewed as something bad, something that should be punished, okay, something that should be brought to justice, rather this is a justified action because God is power. Okay, now. Power for its own ends, though, all right, as an end of human behavior, when fully analyzed, also doesn't make sense for a finite creature. Okay, it is rational for a finite creature to live in pursuit of a higher goal than itself. Okay, it is rational for a finite creature to attempt to align their actions and their behaviors with some transcendent, infinite aim. Because ultimately, man himself is mortal and finite and always is going to be defeated and disempowered by his environment and his body. He's going to die. So therefore, it is reasonable for man to attempt to live his life, if he is going to do so meaningfully, according to an ultimate that is above and beyond his own power, his own well-being, his own pleasure. Okay? So in this way, the party gives Winston a telos, an explanation, but that telos, all right, is irrational. Okay? They appeal to Winston's rational nature, but in doing so, offer a kind of insane explanation of why they do things that defies rationality, that defies the rational finite creature's understanding that it is irrational to live one's entire life simply for themselves. Okay, that actually defies reason. Okay, it is reasonable to live for something that will outlive you, something that is beyond and above you. Okay. All right. Okay. So what's the title of this section of text? Well, it's part 3, chapters 4 and 5. So in this section of text, the party is going to assault another element of Winston's essential nature. Not his mind, not his rationality per se, but rather his heart. Okay. This is the part of him that loves and is loyal and can direct his affections and passions toward things. Okay, and when combined, because listen, the human being is not just a mind. All right, they're not just rationality, because human beings don't simply make choices or live their lives according to things that can be rationally proven or analyzed in a test tube. Right. In fact, human beings base and stake their lives on things that can't necessarily be proven or disproven. Okay, like they stake their lives on love. Can't put love in a test tube. It is a human ideal that is a kind of passion. All right, that organizes our lives. And of course, you can apply your reason to this love. Right, and then live a life in light of that love, all right, that is reasonable and makes sense. But the love in and of itself is trans-rational. It is above reason, okay? It's something closer to what we would call faith or belief, okay? So this is a portion, the final portion of Winston that the party is going to assault and attempt to destroy and then recreate. Okay, and this part of Winston, when combined with his rational nature, is the full expression of what it means to be a human. Man is both kind of this heart, all right, this will, okay, that can direct one's passions and can be loyal and even transcend reason, okay, and also mind. He is mind and heart. Okay, And because he's mind and heart, he should be free and he should be treated as equal. And I'll explain that concept more fully later on Monday. But ultimately, obviously, the party needs to destroy this element of Winston as well. Okay? So the question is, how does the style of the narration illustrate the significance of this portion of Winston's recreation after he has rebelled against the party? Okay? So what happens? All right. Well, Winston is tortured less often in chapter 4. Okay. He begins to accept the fact that he's not a rational creature, or again the fact. Okay. He begins to accept, despite his own instinct, despite his own sort of essence, crying out and saying, "Yes, you are rational." Okay. Yes, 2 + 2 does equal 4, and not 5. Okay, it is irrational to say that God is power, despite the fact that his mind wants to tell him that, right? He begins to suppress that, to destroy that. He trains his mind to double think. He distrusts his own rationality. He writes the party slogans over and over again. Freedom is slavery. 2 + 2 make 5. God is power. It is his only option. His only other option except or beyond accepting this irrationality is to be tortured, to be put in pain. Never-ending, constant pain, which is, again, an irrational choice. All right, so Winston begins to embrace his own brainwashing, attempting to re-educate his own mind. Okay, but one day, Winston, despite his best efforts, to be a good, faithful party member, cries out in misery, and he's crying for Julia. He still loves her. And because he still loves her, he hates the party in his heart. Okay, despite the fact that his reason is trying to tell him, everything in him, in his mind, is telling him, don't defy the party, obey, avoid pain. His heart still says, no, I love Julia. This life that I am living is therefore loathsome. I hate it. I hate the party. I love Julia. And O'Brien arrives and finally takes him to room 101, the final climactic place where they will destroy Winston's innermost heart most completely. Okay, they strap Winston to a chair in chapter 5, and they threaten him with the worst thing in the world. Okay, now, of course, the worst thing in the world is different for everyone. Okay, everyone fears and loves things in ways that are not solely rational. Okay, while we are rational creatures, our greatest fears and our greatest loves are not necessarily all the same. If we were all rational creatures, only rational creatures, and essentially rational creatures, right, then rational people would all love and fear the same things in equal measure. They would love the most lovable things and loathe the most loathsome things equally. But that's not how people are they, right? Some people really hate spiders. Well, people who don't hate spiders just say, exercise your reason, man. Stamp on the thing. It's no big deal. And if it bites you, it's not even going to hurt that bad. It can't eat you. Other people hate snakes. They loathe them. Okay, and Cooper Hughes would say, snakes are cool, man. Okay, you just you exercise your reason. They're not going to like eat you or kill you. Okay, and I'm like, yeah, they will. All right, I hate snakes. Okay, I think they're ugly and gross. Okay, I don't want to be put in a room with a bunch of snakes. All right, all around. I like to kill snakes. I don't like to hang out with snakes. Okay, well, even the nice ones, right? Even the ones that rationally I shouldn't be afraid of. Okay, in other words, okay, the inner workings of the human heart, the fears and the loves of the human heart are not strictly tied to reason. Okay, this is not how man's spirit operates. Okay, and so for Winston, the worst thing in the world for him are rats. That's what he hates. He's deadly afraid of them. And so O'Brien brings Winston to room 101, straps him to a chair so he cannot move, he cannot defend himself, there's nothing he can do, and he's got a cage filled with enormous hungry rats. And O'Brien tells Winston that the rats are going to leap on his face and eat it while he is awake. And when Winston is faced with his horror, he tells O'Brien what he knows he must tell O'Brien. He says, do it to Julia. Not me. Do it to Julia. What has the party destroyed in Winston in this moment? we'll analyze it in detail on Monday. Have an excellent day and an excellent weekend.